49 days. That's how long it's been since the Ducks qualified Jamie Drysdale and Trevor Zegras. And they still do not have a new deal. Pat, one thing at a time for Beak, sure likes to take his sweet time. And if we learned anything about Pat's negotiations with Terry, it's that we won't know any details about Drysdale's and Zegras' next contract until it's official. Pat likes to keep a tight ship. With the Ducks training camp starting in a little over a month, let's look at what we know about each of their potential deals. Let's start with Jamie because he's a lot easier than Z. And I think he is the next one to get signed. Jimmy is going to sign a bridge deal or a shorter deal. There's no doubt about it. Because of his injury last year, he wasn't able to prove himself. So his deal will probably be 2 to 3 years at $3 to $4 million. Either length, at the end of his deal, he would be an RFA again, except this time with arbitration rights. So yay! We get to go through that process again! Jamie recently got a new agent the last couple of weeks, in David Gagne. Still with the same agency though, as his previous agent, Jeff Jackson, became CEO of the Edmonton Oilers on August 3rd. So realistically, not much negotiating was going on until after this happened. Gagne is only down to 3 players left unsigned, Jamie included, so his deal should hopefully be coming soon. Of course, we all thought he would have a deal by now, so who knows? Stop teasing us, Ducks social media. Alright, time for Z. Zegras' contract is a tricky one. Z was interviewed a few weeks ago, and his comments offered no update, good or bad, on how close his camp was to an extension with the Ducks. He did infer that he hasn't personally been involved much in contract talks, saying the negotiations are kinda out of my control, and this is why you have people in place to handle this type of stuff. He has not played 4 seasons, which is what is required to have arbitration rights, meaning that he has little to no leverage in contract negotiations, which is why he is saying he won't return to Anaheim until he has a new contract, because that's just about all he's got. We also have to mention Frank Saravelli's recent comments on Zegras' contract, saying this.
I'm fascinated to see what that Zegras contract looks like. My guess is it's a bridge deal.
Ooh.
Wouldn't it have to be? If they're not going to offer you, maybe they offer the same as what Troy Terry got.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Lots of teams have done that, right? And they look and
I
say,
wouldn't
okay,
sign that.
if you're Zegras?
No,
I get it. I get why you wouldn't.
Not
so then
me.
if you sign a bridge deal, what are you talking? Like 4 mil? 4.5?
Yeah, it's something probably north of that.
Now you have to remember, Frank falsely reported that Gibson would never play another game for the Ducks, so he probably is not the most reliable source when it comes to Duck stuff. Z's contract could go a number of different ways. Let's get the crazy ones out of the way. No, he's not going to be traded. He's not going to be offer sheeted by another team because the amount of picks either would require would make it nearly impossible. Now the 2 most realistic options are a bridge deal or a long-term deal. A bridge deal, this would probably be 2 to 3 years at like $5 million. This is something I do not want to see because Z is no doubt going to improve during that time, and he is going to ask for an even bigger pay raise. We do not want a Matthew Tkachuk situation on our hands. The other realistic option, a long-term deal, which I think the majority of us fans want. As much as I want an 8-year deal for Z, Verbeek definitely seems against those after not wanting to give Lindholm and Terry 8-year deals. Of course, the main difference is that Z is 22 years old, so it shouldn't matter. I want an 8x8 deal for Z. But if it's a long-term deal, I think it's more likely he gets a 7-year deal. One thing we don't want to see is a 5-year deal, as this would take Z to free agency, and he could walk for nothing. I think the biggest hiccup in negotiations could be that Verbeek doesn't see Z as a first-line center of the future. Not to say that he doesn't think he's a top-line player, but he has made comments on Z moving to the wing a number of times. And realistically, with McTavish and Leo both being better defensively, it makes the most sense. Z needs to get stronger, and playing center comes with a lot of responsibility. He could eventually get there, and I like the options playing center gives him offensively. But I see him as a winger long-term, especially once Leo becomes a full-timer in the NHL. Something else important to note is that Z's agent, Pat Brisson, still has 7 players left unsigned, including Z. So he has a bit more work to do, which could make this process take even longer. Brisson is actually the agent of Jack Hughes, too. So he has had experience signing a similar player to Z. Final predictions? Jamie gets signed in the next 2 weeks for 2 years at $3 million. Zegras gets done a week before training camp, and Pat is going to give him his first 8-year deal, even though he doesn't like those, so an 8x8 deal for Z. Beaker is going to take his time, but he's going to get the job done. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and go Ducks!